Hi, it's Casey Wilson. I have the distinct honor of introducing the live Unspooled School Party with Paul and Amy. Today, they will be talking about a movie that moves me deeply, warms my heart. It is truly my favorite movie of all time. Please enjoy the show dedicated to Clue. Ah!
Is she okay?
Oh my gosh. Amy, there
Paul?
has been a murder.
Oh my
Like,
God,
what
is she?
happened? Oh my gosh. Casey's been killed. Amy, we just wanted to do a live show and now Casey's dead? Oh, to start the theme song, please. We got to figure this out. Whoa, hello and welcome to Unspooled. And what a scary way to start off the show. Amy, Casey was supposed to be our guest tonight for a celebration of the movie Clue, and she's killed instantly?
What just happened? Was it her wine? I can't even sing the word unspooled. I'm too rattled. This is too real.
Amy, it's clear to me that tonight there is a murderer in our midst. And I'm going to say that not even you or I are out of suspicion. As a matter of fact, why were you on so early? Why were you able to jump in right away? I was shocked. You were able to unmute your video so quickly?
No, I was just here with my cat. We were hanging out. I was letting him know that everything's okay.
Oh, I don't believe a word of it, Amy. We're going to figure out what happened to Casey Wilson tonight, and you are going to help us. If you're watching the live stream right now, we'll be giving you clues all throughout the night. It is a real mystery that you can actually solve. So get ready to screen grab our clues because they will come up, and we will solve this mystery, and we will find out once and for all that Amy is the murderer.
What?
That's it. I'm sorry, Amy. I'm sorry, but it's true.
I have such an innocent face. Don't judge me by my Veronica Lake hair that I curled just for this occasion.
I think it looks great. I was about to wear a tuxedo, but then I couldn't pull it together. Amy, I'm so excited to be back with you doing this Unspooled Spool Party live. We've done some great movies. We had House Party, Big, Clueless, and now we are celebrating Clue, a movie that is a real kind of like cult phenomenon. Like it's a movie that really came back into our culture. I mean, we'll talk about it later on, but this movie when it came out, not a hit.
Giant flop.
Yeah.
Giant flop. The kind of flop where people walked around with shame on their foreheads, with flames tattooed on the side of their face, people being like, oh, you were in Clue, poor thing, bless your heart. Let's not talk about that.
But it does have this amazing cast, which we'll get into. But I wanted to tell you that I saw Clue in the movie theater, and I was given a sheet of paper, and I only got one of the endings. And that's how this movie was actually presented. When you went to go see it in the theater, you had your like little clue sheet like you would have in the game, and you only got one. And it was such an interesting thing. And I wanted to go back so badly to see the other endings. And I guess like when you saw the movie times in the paper, they would have like A, B, or C written by it. So you would go back. But the only thing that changed was like the last 2 minutes of the movie. Like that's it. But it was so exciting. I'd never seen a movie like that before. I thought this was going to catch on in a major way. And
it did not. You never saw a movie like this before. The makers of Clue were hoping for people like you. They were hoping that people like Paul, that you would be able to convince your parents to take you to go back and see it a second and a third time. But apparently you failed in your mission. Nobody went and saw the movie a second time. And almost nobody saw it a first time because they thought, well, what's the point in watching a mystery if everything that I see, all the little clues that people leave in the film don't really add up to anything, if it can mean any one of these three endings.
But in a genius way, that's what Clue is. Every day that you play Clue, or every time you play Clue, there is a different murderer based on certain bits of information and what is revealed. And that's what kind of makes it so kind of fun. But, you know, I think in the whole idea of making a board game into a film, that also was an albatross around this movie's neck. It was like, you made a movie out of a board game? How dare you? Like, where's the originality? Where are the ideas?
And now we just call that a Friday. Yes, it is a Friday at the movies. Would you like to see Ouija 1 or Ouija 2?
Would you? Hey, look, remember those crazy trolls with insane hair? They're already in sequel territory, people, and they're killing it. Trolls 2 World Tour, I think, made more money than like any movie that came out in the last, like, well, I guess in the last month for sure. But Amy,
I will say that I will not be sated until I get both a movie about hungry hippos and the koosh balls. I want koosh ball movie. Where's the koosh ball movie?
we got to get a koosh ball movie. I mean, I want a Sour Patch Kids movie. That's really what I'm looking forward to. Sour Patch movie and peanut M&Ms. If we're not putting those peanut M&Ms have shown us they can carry the weight of a film.
Would you watch a Sour Patch movie and eat the Sour Patches as you watch it? That seems cruel.
Well, I mean, look, the same thing with M&Ms. I mean, when you look at those M&Ms, they're like real people. Are they watching like the murder of their friends as people scoop it up? Amy,
I can't imagine what that would feel like. How quickly you forget.
just watching a giant hand eat your friends. Amy, there is a murder. People think it was Rob. People thought it was maybe your cat.
It could be easily my cat. My cat's a real bastard.
I'm alone here in my house. My 2 children have never taken to murder.
So you have no alibi.
But they could tell you where I was. I was eating their pasta just a second ago. But let's see our first clue. What's our first clue today? Okay, this is interesting. Bling Ring, the musical, live on YouTube, online only engagement. Take a picture of this, people. Still directed by Sofia Coppola. This is what's going on.
Clue number 1?
Clue number 1. This
Florence
is really interesting.
Pugh?
YouTube.com/blingring. Does that mean anything? Oh, hey, look, I am Alexis Neer's understudy. Don Cheadle is Nick Prugo's understudy. Casey Wilson. Oh, look at this, Amy. Casey Wilson was in the cast.
Wait, hold on.
And I was her understudy.
Oh, this is very suspicious, Paul. This is very suspicious.
What do
you
mean?
have everything to gain. You would get a leading role in the Bling Ring if something happened to Casey. Paul.
Come on. That's inconsequential. Look, I love Casey.
It is
She's
not.
one of my best
Alex,
friends. I don't need to be in Bling Ring the musical. I was very happy to be the understudy, learning all the parts, learning the craft. That's what my job is as an actor, to be a part of the process, not who cares about the stage.
Alexis Neers is a prime part in this movie. I have my eye on you, Sheer. You definitely. Let me see your hands. Do you have blood on your hands? Do you have wine
blood on my
your
hand.
hands?
No blood on my hand.
Do you smell like wine? Do you smell like wine?
I am drinking wine. I am drinking canned wine.
You are? Okay, fine. I prepared some brandy for just such a moment because I am in the spirit of Clue.
I love it. Well, speaking of Clue, what is Clue? Because are people even familiar with this board game anymore? I was thinking about this the other day. I don't know if Clue is the game that people are pulling out often. And as a matter of fact, when this movie was made, the cast wasn't even very familiar with Clue. They're like, oh yeah, I think Martin Mull knew it the most. It's not like Monopoly. I want to get into Miss Monopoly in a big way, but it wasn't like Monopoly. It was like, I mean, I played it a lot, but I don't know if people right now in 2020 know what Clue is. So I maybe thought we could walk through like the origins of Clue.
Let's do it. What we're going to do to walk through the origins of Clue is we're going to jump back to a time in 1944 England and a man named Anthony E. Pratt. Now, this is Anthony Pratt here, and he was living through a thing that I think some of us might be able to relate to a little bit, which is in England in 1944, because of the bombings and the night raids of World War II, you had to spend a lot of time indoors with your friends. You were basically stuck inside at night. And when you were stuck inside,
that seems so foreign.
Yeah, exactly. And so one of the things that Anthony Pratt and his friends did is they came up with a game that they called Murder. And they would play this game Murder in their house. And every night there was a different killer and they would run up and down the hallways. And Anthony Pratt thought this would be a great game. And so he invented this game and he drew out a little game board of all these different rooms you can go into. And if you look at it, this is the game board that he tried to patent in 1944. You can see it's a little bit different than the Clue that some of us grew up with. There's a gun room in there. There's more rooms. Yeah. There's more things to do. There's more characters. Here's a list of his original characters.
Oh, wow.
A lot of those didn't exist. I love Mr. Gold. I've always wished my name could be Goldie when I'm old. I just want my retirement home name to be Goldie so bad. But it had 10 characters and it even had more weapons. Take a look at the weapons that he tried to patent in
Ooh, I
1944.
like the syringe. The syringe is great. The
Yeah.
bomb. By the way, Amy, I'm thinking about this. Do you think Quentin Tarantino is riffing on this a little bit by having everybody named colors in Reservoir Dogs? Like we have a similar thing going on here,
I wonder. I mean, I do appreciate that in the world of Clue, you're aware that your color isn't your name, just as the characters in Reservoir Dogs are. It's
Yeah.
a name put upon you. By the way,
Yeah.
do you know what that figure is? Do you see the second figure of the weapons?
It looks like Yoda's like walking stick.
You are correct. It is a type
What?
of walking stick called
Hey.
a shillelagh.
Oh, interesting. I know a shillelagh. All right, I like that.
Yeah, that's a shillelagh. Now, a couple other interesting things were happening in board gaming at this exact time that our dear Anthony Pratt was coming up with the game that would become Clue. One of them is that the major manufacturer in the UK of Monopoly was a company called Waddington's, and they were using Monopoly boards as a way of smuggling weapons to British prisoners of war who were in Nazi
Wait,
camps.
what?
Yeah,
Wait, so so prisoners of war were playing Monopoly?
prisoners of war were playing Monopoly that they were being given as care packages from refugee aid
Wow.
organizations, but they had built in files. You can see in here where they were. They went files and compasses and a silk map. They were printing maps of Europe on thin pieces of silk
Wow.
and putting them inside the Monopoly games so that the prisoners of war could get them out and use them to escape. 2 files, a compass, and a silk map. So that was what Waddington's was up to at the time of World War II. And I mentioned this as a way of saying that when Waddington's agreed to buy Clue from Anthony Pratt, he didn't get the best deal and he really didn't make that much money off of it. But Waddington's, they were doing their best as well, because it was kind of a sad corporate thing. And here, if you look at Pratt's grave, his family never believed he got enough credit for inventing the game of Clue. They wrote it on his tombstone. It says inventor of Cluedo. They called it Cluedo in the UK because there was a game
What?
called Ludo. And so
Okay.
was alluding to Cluedo. Ludo was the
Wow,
original name.
that's a really terrible title, Cluedo, because Clue is I mean, it's not. It's amazing sometimes when you look back at these decisions that people make. We're like, yeah, that makes sense, Cluedo, because it's referencing like just call it Clue. Just call. I mean, we've done it. Like, but yes, great, Cluedo. And I actually am a little bit disappointed at this headstone. I wanted it to be like, who did it and when, what room? Like, I thought it should be a little bit more playful.
Life and death is no laughing matter.
Of course,
as we've learned 10 minutes ago, Paul. How quickly?
I know. Casey Wilson is dead. And you know what? I have to prepare for my part in the Bling Ring, the musical on stage. It's going to be so much fun.
So, even without the movie Clue that we know today, there has been this parallel history of the world of Hollywood and the world of Clue. Because among the different iterations of Clue that we've been given, one of them is Hitchcock Clue. There's a game of Clue that is all with Hitchcock characters, with Hitchcock settings, and with Hitchcock weapons. Check these out. You can kill people with seagulls and neckties and ovens.
By the way,
poisoned wine.
Seagulls, that's so dumb. But this is like this time when
my
seagulls.
Grandmother died from a seagull attack.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Amy. I didn't mean to bring that up. And that's why you probably are so immune to murder, like when you murdered Casey Wilson tonight. I do feel like this is like in an era of when everyone is just putting their own thing on a board game. Because Clue is ultimately a game that you can put any specific on it. It doesn't make a difference. The game stays the same. It's like Star Wars Monopoly. It's like, sure, now I can look at like a Millennium Falcon is my thing instead of a little race car, and I feel like more connected to the thing. It's like, oh yeah, I bought, Hoth and Bespin, whatever. But yeah, it's interesting how they I think they try to keep the game interesting because people in the chat are already saying like, I tried to play this with my kids. It was so boring.
Really? I mean, maybe your kids would like this version of Clue that is inspired very much by The Hangover. Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, okay.
It's called What Happened Last Night, Clue Lost in Vegas, where one of the people has just gone missing.
I saw this in Target the other day. I was blown away by this. It's like they're just trying to bring people in. And it's, that's a parody of the classic.
Amazing. I mean,
Show
you
me
have
what
to
this
look at
got.
the board. The board is amazing. The board looks like Las Vegas, and that
Oh
and the
my
guy in the
God.
purple shirt right there, that's the bridegroom that's lost, and you have to try to find him. And it is incredibly broy, but it is not the broiest thing that has happened to Clue, because that would be just new Clue, modern new
Okay.
Clue. When they updated Clue 10 years ago, they decided to reframe everybody's identities. So Colonel Mustard is no longer a colonel; he's like an ex-football jock. And
This is crazy.
Professor Plum is incredibly intelligent, but he has put that to work being a .com millionaire.
Wow, this is so crazy to me. I'm loving this. Okay.
I mean, I don't mind the idea of .com millionaires being murderers, but I
No, of
don't
course.
know if you know this, that this is my favorite piece of trivia involving the movie history of Clue being entangled in the game that we know. And it
Mhm.
happens to do with a person that we should raise a cup to right now, and that is James Lipton, the host
Really?
of, yeah. See, that is James Lipton right there. And the beautiful woman next to him is his longtime wife. Her name is Critic Turner. And if you ever met James Lipton, I've heard people who have told the story. If you ever met James Lipton, he would take out a card of Miss Scarlet from the game Clue. This card right here. And you
Oh
know what?
yes.
His
Was that
wife,
her?
yeah, his wife, James Lipton's wife, was the model for Miss Scarlet. This is them when they're younger. You can really see.
Whoa. I had a crush on Miss Scarlet. I did. I mean, that's like I mean, look, as a kid, as repressed as I was, growing in a very Catholic family, that was a very sexy picture. That was like I was like, ooh, who is this? You know what? It's so funny that you see that Clue has just always been hanging on, because where I grew up with Clue, the VCR game, that was the coolest thing. It's like rewind, fast forward to 0.445. Like, so you'd have to like get in front of your VCR to like move the clips forward and not. My dad and I would play VCR Clue. It was so funny because we were actually talking about how did this get made. Jason Mantzoukas is going off on Clue. He's like, Clue is such a stupid movie. And he railed about this line. And we realized that that line isn't even from Clue. It's from Clue, the VCR video game. Like, but his mind just put them together because that game was so kind of synonymous. Like this VCR Clue is like, that became a whole nother movie.
It fused it. Well, let's take a second and watch the opening of VCR Clue. I wonder if this is your Proustian Madeline. Is this going to be a beautiful moment for you, Paul? Are you going to cry?
I love it. I probably will. For all of them.
You are about to meet the suspects, weapons, and rooms of the VCR mystery game Clue. Watch carefully, and I'll be back in a few minutes to tell you about the game.
I love that she's walking through all the rooms so you can get a taste of it, as if it is a visual medium. Okay, but yeah, she walks through every
Miss
room.
Scarlet, some white wine.
This is bananas.
It hurts my head that the white wine is red.
But like, this is honestly, I played that game so much. It was so fun to feel like you had an interactive game. I love interactive games. It's like,
Yeah.
it's, you know, but this is that just brought me back so much. I just remember sitting in front of the VCR with my dad and playing this game, and you know, they would reveal the answers. But yeah, it's amazing that Clue won't die. It won't
No.
die.
And in fact, what's interesting is VCR Clue. It comes out in 1985, which is the same year as our movie Clue. And while our movie Clue is known as such a flop, VCR Clue actually did something that movie Clue never got, which is it got a sequel.
Whoa.
Uh-huh.
Clue 2.
So
By the way,
it wins.
Wow, that is a murder in disguise. I guess I imagine that this actually was very successful, because for me as a kid growing up in this time, like board games were so prevalent, like that's something that we did all the time as a family. And so, yeah, like this is a more expensive, a high price point video game, or it's in the middle of a video game and like a board game. It was like, I'm surprised we didn't get Clue 2. Why didn't my dad love me enough to get me Clue 2? Amy, there's so many questions. My dad didn't love me. Maybe that affected me. I don't know, but maybe there's also more clues out there. Maybe Josh, who's our producer out there, is there anybody else that may have some information about Casey's murder?
Oh, that's a great idea. I have questions. If anybody else has questions, let's find out.
Yeah. You know, there's one question that people have for you, Amy, which is, what is the color of your lipstick?
Oh, it is called. Oh no, what is it called? Oh no, it's discontinued, and you can't have it because sometimes I go through and I try to find old tubes on eBay that other people have used, which I guess I bought before the time of coronavirus. So I have them all. I've been hoarding it.
All right. So people are hoarding toilet paper. You are hoarding your. Oh, we have somebody right here. Oh my gosh, who is this? Who is this person?
Hello, hello,
Hello,
hello, hello.
Hi, I'm sorry, Miss Olive. I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm all woman. I'm Miss Olive, all woman, and I felt I was watching your Zoom machine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hear you're all mixed up and upset about Casey Wilson's death.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very sad, very sad. I'm so sad about it. She lived right below me. I was her landlord. I was so sad about what happened.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it must.
Casey.
Did you see anything suspicious happening?
Suspicious? Why you ask me if I see anything suspicious?
I'm just saying because you're living.
Just because she lived below me? Just because she lived right below me and she was terrible person who's tenant? Terrible tenant?
She's terrible tenant. What did she do?
What she'd not do with her big parties with her toddlers and her husband and her big rock music. She was huh? What?
I was like, you see, I think that, Casey, there's a whole side of her that we don't know. She probably had a lot of enemies.
Look, it's sad when anyone goes. Okay, I had a big funeral in my bathroom alone for little Richard, but this.
That's odd. Wait, wait. What did you do in your bathroom for little Richard?
Cried so loud that my family gets very upset. Look, it's not about me. This is about a beautiful young woman who make other women sometimes very jealous.
Oh, interesting.
Did you
women.
See...
What?
Huh.
What did I say? I'm trying to help you, okay? I'm trying to help you figure out what kind of horrible person would kill a horrible person like Casey Wilson.
I mean, do you mind if I say you sound a little bit defensive? I'm
not defensive. I'm telling you facts, okay? I have nothing to be defensive about, okay?
Caitlin Hansen in our group chat says that you are very defensive, that, you had perfect positioning to do the crime.
Okay, you listen close. Just because I live right below and sometimes I use my trap door to look at her and her family together.
Whoa.
Just because all these people, that doesn't mean I have murder on my hands. Okay, my hands don't have. Huh?
You have a trap door?
Look, every household who has landlord who live below them has a trap door. Okay, I'm not stupid. Okay, we live in a Me Too era.
That's
okay,
not
Me
true.
Too time's up. Me Too time's up.
What does that mean? That doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean you can just go inside somebody's house.
It means you protect yourself any way you can. Okay.
No.
Okay, Mr. Shine and Lady Blonde. Huh?
Somebody wants to know: are you Belarus? Scott Holler wants to know: are you Belarus?
As a matter of fact, I am 1/4 Belarus, 1/4 Armenian, 1/4 American, and 1/4 Native American. I did my DNA last week.
I appreciate
all right.
Honestly, I'm thinking about it, and I mean, I could believe in your innocence because as a landlord, I mean, now you're stuck with an empty apartment. That can't be easy right now. I mean, I know we're all trying to.
No, that's not happening. My whole Belarusian Native American side coming and living and moving in tomorrow, but they've been looking for quite some time. It's very difficult.
Moving in tomorrow?
Yeah, they're moving in tomorrow.
She was just killed. It's like minutes ago. How did you get them?
Was not messy to clean up. Whoever did this did it very neatly. Okay, she actually looked very beautiful lying there. You should have seen it. It's too bad she was
there. I know she was an actor. You went up there. You were in the crime scene.
It's how many times I have to tell you I have a trap door that leads me right up.
I know, but why you should leave that for the police or something?
Okay, listen. Okay, I'm gonna tell you something. This city of angels that all of you take your chances. Like I was born near here. Okay, so I didn't just come here with a dream. Like some people, like a Casey Wilson, who comes here and she's a sexy actress in pornography, whatever she does. Okay,
she's not in pornography.
She was not in pornography. That's what you're sure about that?
I mean, I'm like 95% positive she's not in pornography. I've acted with her in things.
What was in the other 5%?
Have you checked out Rob Huebel for this crime?
People have been saying Rob Huebel might be guilty of this, but he's not even. I don't even think he knows what's going on. I mean, he's out in Pasadena. It's very far away.
Oof. Is it? Here's the thing. I saw Rob Huebel come around a couple of times. Okay, I'm just putting it out there. Okay, and maybe I'm putting it out there. Maybe I'm not putting it out there. But what I'm putting out is not what Casey Wilson was putting out, which was putting out. You know what I mean? She was a wild woman and a family.
Wait a second. So she's having an affair, a secret life, or something.
Well, I wouldn't say an affair. I would say multiple affairs. But I'm not judgmental. Okay, I'm not judgmental.
Were they all with humans? Were all of her affair partners human beings?
Look, I also believe in the paranormal. So you and I should start a podcast, Blonde.
We should.
Okay, about all the paranormal activity that goes on in and around this city of angels and how many people get involved in pornographic relationships like Casey Wilson.
With ghosts? Are you saying that she's having sex with ghosts? I think that you are very suspicious. You have a trapdoor into her apartment. You've already rented out her room. There's something going on with you. We need to make sure. We need to figure out more about it. We got to send the police over to your house. All right.
Yeah.
We have to make sure that Miss Olive does not leave where you are.
Maybe give them a time frame because we're doing a socially distant barbecue on my front lawn a little bit. So
how many people do you have out there, honestly? How many people do you have? Yeah.
We have a quarantine club. Okay. In my house, we have about four children and their children. So we have children with a bunch of children. So it's a big.
So how many people? Yeah. How many people? How many people? Yeah. All
17, 18.
That's too many people. That is not. Yeah, that's not social.
Only
distancing.
one of us goes to pavilions.
All right. Well, maybe that's maybe.
But wait, I want to ask. I mean, when you were down there, did you see anything that looked like a clue?
Oh, did I see anything that looked like a clue? I mean, look, the game did so much for humanity. It really brought candlesticks back into popularity. Am I right? Am I wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Totally true. We didn't know that was a murder weapon before the game. Yeah.
I got the biggest one here, so watch out.
Okay, so it looked to me like there could have been a candlestick involved. There could have been some kind of something in the liquid that she was drinking. But listen,
okay,
I'm not. I can't tell you because I'm a very busy person with a lot.
Okay, Miss Olive. I think you said a lot. It might have been poison. It might have been because you wanted to rent out your place to your Native American family. There's a lot of things going on. We may have, we may check in on you again, but I don't know. Thank you for calling in and letting us know. People think here that you might be guilty, but I don't want to cast aspersions. So
I think you have a very innocent face. I really do, Miss Olive. I think you radiate goodness to me, and I think we should start that podcast. And I think we should also
do a better career than podcasting. You and I will have a talk.
I think you and I we need to start a fundraiser to help out support the actresses who are trapped into having sex with aliens, because it really is a crisis point in this country.
Couldn't agree.
All right, you know what? You both disgust me. There's a dead person here. You're talking about podcasts, and you know what? You're ridiculous. Thank you, Miss Olive.
Her name. We're gonna name it after Casey.
Olive out.
Oh, okay. Jeez, man. Well, that was. All right, we have another clue. I mean, we know that now her apartment's being rented. She was into some very suspicious stuff, sexual stuff, maybe with ghosts. Portmanteau robot says, according to a guy in an extravagant hat I met once, Los Angeles has the most cat ghost hauntings of anywhere in the world. So
cat ghosts?
Could she have been murdered by a cat ghost? Ask your cat.
He's just giving me the silent look.
Well, Amy, we've already learned a lot about Clue the game. But I think the interesting thing about this movie, before we get into the movie, is how long this took to develop. Now, John Landis was really the voice behind wanting to make this movie. He worked really hard on trying to make this film. And I know that he also worked with another producer that we both really love. So tell us a little bit about that other producer he worked with.
I will. If anybody out there listens to my podcast on Halloween, you know that I gave much love to the producer of Halloween, a woman named Deborah Hill.
Yes, I love that reveal, Amy.
And Deborah Hill is right there in the credits. She is the one who did a lot of the work producing Clue. After she did the Halloween films with John Carpenter, she went solo. They did Halloween, Halloween 2, they did The Fog, and then she opened up her own producing company. And the two major things that she did for the rest of the 80s were Clue, and she also did Adventures in Babysitting. And I wanted to just show off a little picture of Deborah. I adore her very much. I think she's one of the great unsung heroes of Hollywood. She is no longer with us. She is with Casey Wilson up there in the sky. But this is her on the set of Halloween looking pretty dangerous. So I bet nobody could get her without a fight.
Well, Amy, it's interesting because Deborah Hill and John Landis developed this movie for such a long time. They wanted to figure out how to tell the story. And it seems on the surface to be a very easy story to tell. It's a murder mystery. So they went to Tom Stoppard, who had kind of deconstructed the typical murder mystery in a play form. And they went to him and they said, Tom, can you write this movie? And Tom went away and he tried to crack it. And to such a degree that it drove him a little bit mad. And a year later, John Landis, after not hearing from Tom Stoppard, gets a letter on beautiful paper, just says, I can't figure this out. And inside was a check that he was paid to develop Clue as a film. He couldn't figure it out. He got out. And as recently as, I think like 3 or 4 years ago, he was asked to be interviewed about Clue. And he's like, I was never involved in that movie. I was never asked to do a part of it. It really scarred him that he couldn't figure it out. And I was thinking to myself, oh, that's interesting because, when you kind of do one thing, when you kind of deconstruct something, it's hard to then go in and then find a different way to deconstruct it. I think he kind of told his story. So then John Landis went to an unlikely duo. Did you know about this at all? His second duo that he went to was Stephen Sondheim and Anthony Perkins to write the script for Clue.
Anthony Perkins, like the murderer of the movie Psycho.
Yes, the murderer of the movie Psycho. And they had written this movie that actually Edgar Wright was talking about just the other day. I wrote it down before I even knew this was part of this show. It's called The Last of Sheila. And it seems to be very much inspired by like Natalie Wood's murder. And it's about Sheila is killed in a hit and run accident. Her wealthy husband invites a group of friends to spend a week on his yacht playing a scavenger hunt mystery game and to find out who was responsible for Sheila's death. It's a really cool film. And it's like, and so Anthony Perkins and Stephen Sondheim were like, all right, we're in. So they start working on it and they can't quite figure it out. So then it comes to this up and coming writer in London. He had written this this show called Yes Minister. And the way I can kind of describe Yes Minister is it is essentially Veep in Britain. So take a look at Yes Minister.
Humphrey, we have got to slim down the civil service. How many people have we got in this department?
This department? Oh, well, very small.
Small? How small?
Oh, I don't know.
2,000? 3,000?
About 23,000, I think, Minister.
23,000? In the Department for Administrative Affairs, 23,000 people just administering other administrators? We'll have to do a time and motion study, see who we can get rid of.
We did one of those last year, Minister.
And?
It transpired we needed another 500 people. However, Minister, we could always close your bureaucratic watchdog office.
Oh, no, you don't. I've only just opened it. It's the one thing I've done since I got here.
Well, as you wish, Minister, but it has been criticised as a troublemaker's letterbox.
I know. It's very popular with the voters, Humphrey. Gives them a chance to help us find ways to stop wasting government money.
Public doesn't know anything about wasting government money. We're the experts.
So you get a little sense of the humor that's out there. And the show is actually very funny. It goes on for years and years and years. And so they bring John Lynn in to write this film. And I think what struck me about this film was when we were starting to watch it, I was like, who wrote and directed this movie? It didn't like, it's not, you would think it would be a bigger name, right? But he's a first-time director. He, because John Landis couldn't direct it because he was doing Spies Like Us with Dan Aykroyd and Chevy Chase. So he gave it to John Lynn. And John Lynn is so protective of the script that the script that he uses is said verbatim. Like the cast is on record just saying like he wanted it done in a very specific way. The only thing improvised is Madeline Kahn's one moment kind of at the end of the movie in only one of the endings, where she's the flames on my face. Like, but that was this guy who was such an auteur. Like he really had a command of language and a play. And so I thought it was really interesting that this voice, and that you start to see that this voice is the voice behind movies like My Cousin Vinny. He wrote My Cousin Vinny. He wrote that movie with Beyonce and Cuba Gooding Jr. I want to say it's The Last Temptations. Right now I'm blanking on it.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I think I saw that somehow.
So
Yeah.
he has kind of had this really interesting career where he's been a very prolific British writer, but then has come in and kind of hit these like My Cousin Vinny is, won an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress, like very interesting film. So I just thought it was interesting to talk about this guy, John Lynn. And if you look back on some of his shows, they're very funny. They're really, really good. So I just wanted to kind of give some attention to him. And Yes, Minister, they've had like reboots and reunions and they keep it all going. But let's.
I mean, in that clip that you pulled of Yes Minister, you can really hear the way that he loves dialogue to just go out like pat, 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 pat. I mean, I heard that one of the things that he did when he was shooting Clue is that he asked the entire cast just to sit down and watch his Go Friday together to get a sense of that kind of fast screwball kind of rhythm. And that's a movie that I think people would love to see on the AFI list. Other people more than I would, honestly. But yeah, that kind of like fast patter that everybody's smarter than everybody else in the room, and except for when they don't understand and all the lines don't make any sense. And it's such a great style of artificial comedy,
And what people are saying is The Fighting Temptations. I'm sorry, The Fighting Temptations is the movie that he wrote. And also, people wanted me to bring up that Last of Sheila was also in Ryan Johnson's program of whodunits at the Alamo to promote Knives Out. He kind of picked these favorite ones. And Last of Sheila is like a rare whodunit that I had never really heard of. I think you've heard of a lot of the other bigger ones. So this is actually really interesting. Yeah.
The weirdest thing just happened.
What happened?
I think I just got a fax from Miss Olive with a clue.
Uh-oh. What do we got?
Let's see. What? So Miss Olive has an in on the things that Casey's been getting in the mail. And
all right, so this is 30 count professional wine shrink caps. Let's make your own small batch wines or seal. Wait, this is Amy. Wait a second. Look at this. Okay, the person who murdered Casey knew how to reseal wine bottles and bought Tomcat liquid rat poison. I thought that was a cat food. No, it's just poison. All right, so this is definitely who placed this order. Do we know?
No, but now we definitely know what the killer was using.
Rat poison.
You know what? That is a way to go. Do you think they were sending a message that they think Casey is a rat?
Well, people are saying that Casey Wilson, 4 syllables, 4 Washington Lane, the White House. Interesting. All right, so let's see.
That's not where the White House is.
Maybe it's 441. No, yeah.
It's on Pennsylvania.
Yeah, sorry, Gary Goldberg.
Pennsylvania.
No, Gary.
That's not
Gary I guess it's a comedy Bang Bang reference. By the way, I think there's another. I think we have another suspect or somebody here. So who's here? Is somebody here? I think there's somebody. Who's it?
Hey.
Hello. Hey, how are you?
Sorry, I just sat down here at Casey's house. Do you know
You're at Casey's house?
Yeah, who should I invoice for? I had to unclog the upstairs shitter in the master suite.
Wait, so you're a plumber? You're a plumber that's doing.
That's correct. I'm Joe the plumber.
Okay, not the Joe the plumber.
Oh, don't get me fucking started on that guy. No, I am not Joe. I'm not the Joe the plumber. I'm Joe the plumber. I didn't know to copyright my name meets my profession.
No, of course not. I'm just saying there is obviously a tremendous connection between the two.
No, yes. But do you mind if I ask? I mean, was it Casey who called you, or was it her landlord?
Her landlord called. Apparently, there was a stench coming from upstairs, so I went upstairs, and Casey had a log. God knows what this woman was eating before she went out.
Joe, I mean, we don't have to hear about Casey's bowel movements. But
I don't know if it was Casey's bowel movements. I should say I've gotten myself into some dicey courtroom situations before. So let me just state, I can't prove that it was Casey Wilson's turd, but a turd in her toilet was truly massive.
Have you been called to testify on the size of people's turds?
Yeah, I feel awful. Yeah, we almost got the son of Sam off of the neighbor dog's turds.
I heard that the Golden State Killer was caught off of turds.
Yeah, thankfully to a true crime writer and myself finding the Golden State Killer's turd. Well, finding a Tupperware full of turds later revealed to be the Golden State Killer's turd.
This is disgusting. Well, I look, I don't mean to be foul, but what can you tell from a person's turd?
You could tell their diet, their stress level, their previous locations, destinations of up to 24 years.
Wow, almost like a tree, like a the rings.
Well,
of the
yeah,
tree.
you have to slice it and count the rings.
Oh, terrible.
Can you tell if they drink too much wine?
Of course, you can tell if they drank too much red. If you are wondering if they drank too much white or rosé, it's a little more difficult to tell.
Can you tell if they had rats in their house?
That's not my specialty, but I can say that.
Hey, Amy, what are you asking about rats? She was murdered with rat poison.
You know, maybe it's a coincidence. I'm just checking.
Coincidence? She was murdered. We saw.
Wait a minute. What? Murder?
Yes, she was murdered. I'm so sorry, Joe. I didn't mean to reveal that to you. Yeah,
I just sat down at a Zoom station set up in her house.
I know she has multiple Zoom stations. House like that. Yeah, no, she was murdered. She was. I mean, do you see her body on the floor, or is she already gone?
Oh, I don't know. There's a rolled up rug, and I thought they just had a rug delivery.
Oh no, she's murdered. That you're in a room with a murdered body right now. Let's just say it is her poop, though. If it is her poop, can you tell us anything from the poop?
Wait a minute. Casey was murdered. I think I saw someone here moments before.
What did you see?
Oh my gosh, who did you see?
He was like I can't place him, but he's like a comic actor. He had gray hair famously, then not gray hair. Then he went back to gray hair eventually. He was in The Descendants as
Rob Huebel? Wait, yes! Rob Huebel.
Yes.
You were saying Rob Huebel?
That's the guy's name. I always get him confused with Rob Riggle.
Wait a second. No. Rob Huebel couldn't be involved in this. Like, yeah, I mean, sure. Like, so what do you think he was doing? Just like he was just hanging out outside?
I have no idea. I heard someone listening to the annoying cell phone guy jingle, and I look over, and Rob's watching a clip reel of his old commercials. It must be something like that.
Yeah, he's like watching it on his phone?
He's watching it on his phone, yeah. And I say, like, that's interesting, annoying cell phone guy being, and he turns, sees me, and gets out of there. He might have not had anything to do with the murder, to be fair, because he was just like, I think he was just going like, pandemic, like busking for acting work, just bringing his reel door to door. Casey's apparently involved with some high-level Hollywood showrunners.
How did he seem? I mean, what was his mood? Did he seem sad? Did he seem guilty? Did he seem angry?
He seemed, he was sad, but for something else, and I couldn't place it. And he seemed angry, but that was obviously about how he had parked.
Wait a second. So Rob was outside. You know, Casey has been in this Bling Ring the musical. Rob wasn't in that. Maybe Rob was upset. Maybe Rob even was happy to be an understudy of the part. That kind of eliminates me. I was already in the play. Rob does need a part. I mean, he's in that Mark Ruffalo HBO show, which is a very high prestige drama. But to be in Bling Ring the musical, I think would be a real coup, honestly.
I don't know. Portmanteau Bot thinks that Rob Riggle wouldn't have left evidence, that Rob Riggle would be very careful.
Well, we're talking about Rob Huebel. That portmanteau.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So Rob Riggle wouldn't leave
same
evidence.
thing happens to me. I get those guys confused all the time. I get all of them, all the old Respecto guys. They all blend together after a while.
Well, Joe the Plumber, thank you. And obviously you can use Joe the Plumber if you're in Los Angeles. He seems to be a great guy, not stealing anything. You're just jumping on Zoom there.
Do you want me to just hold up a picture of the turd in front of the
right. Do you have it?
Yeah, hold on. Let me just grab it for you. I've got it right here.
Right.
And
oh God! Oh, thank God! I didn't want to see that. I honestly didn't want to see that picture of that turd. That just seemed.
I did. I was curious.
Ooh. Oh,
I want to learn. If there's things to be learned, I would like to know.
Amy,
my curiosity is endless.
Turds are not like a great mighty oak. All right, let's talk about this movie.
I don't know. I mean, I think I could use another clue.
All right. Well,
Do you think there's any other clue that we could find?
We have another clue. Okay.
What
Casey
is
Wilson
this?
launches her own macaroni and cheese. Amy, this is directly coming at you.
Max.
If people don't know anything about Amy, it's that Amy hates overpriced mac and cheese. She's gone on the podcast and stated how much she despises it. And you know what? So far, Amy, it looks like the fingers pointed solely at you.
No, and you know what? The thing is, I don't want to give the impression that I'm guilty at all. I really don't want to give the impression that I'm guilty at all. But when I hear about a restaurant like that opening up, I do get very angry. And I do think Casey Wilson, I mean, what does it cost to make macaroni and cheese? It costs like 50 cents of noodles and then like $1 of cheese. And you're going to sell that to people for $17 just because you put a truffle on it? I mean, I'm not saying that I killed Casey, but I am saying it's pretty good that she's dead in that restaurant.
This
won't
is the
exist.
anger that I'm
At a
talking
moment
about.
when I'm worried about all of my beloved restaurants closing, she's gonna open some bullshit restaurant and
Casey
overcharge
Max.
people.
Casey Max, that's comfort food when we need it most, when we need comfort in this time.
No,
Oh, thank God we're
that's not
almost
the
out of
comfort
it.
we should. No,
All right. Well, Amy, let's get into the film. Let me give you a couple of year facts. It's 1985. Live Aid raises over 125 million for famine relief with concerts by Cher, David Bowie, Duran Duran, Elton John, Hall & Oates, Lionel Richie, Bob Dylan, Madonna, and Queen. Coca-Cola introduces New Coke, aka the worst marketing blunder in history. Nintendo releases the NES in North America with games like Ice Climber and Duck Hunt. Ice Climber. Oh man. Newcomer Michael Jordan is named the NBA's Rookie of the Year. Michael Jackson buys an ATV Music and every Beatles song for $47 million. That's crazy. Right? That whole story is amazing. That he basically buys the rights to the Beatles after Paul McCartney tells him, like, that's where the money is. The FDA approves a blood test for AIDS, and the UK starts screening for blood donations for AIDS. The hot movies include The Color Purple, Back to the Future, Rambo: First Blood Part 2, Rocky IV, and Cocoon. But I would say the hot movies are that, but not Clue, because Clue is not a hot movie.
not at all. I do absolutely love Cocoon though. And do you remember what Forrest Gump was doing then this year? He was inventing new Coke and ruining lives. That was in the Forrest Gump sequel. And in the sequel of Forrest Gump that we have been denied, which I would like.
Oh,
but
no.
This is not, of course, the setting of Clue. Clue takes place 30 years earlier in a very different time period. It takes place in New England, 1954, which makes it actually the second movie of this era to be like, we're in the 50s and we've got Christopher Lloyd here and we're going to jump back to the 50s and explore what life was like before the 80s.
And by the way, this movie comes out before Back to the Future, which is really interesting.
It does. And a couple of things jumped out at me like watching it with this setting right now, because what I love about this first just image that we see is how, oh, hello. Does he know we're talking murder?
He doesn't know about murder. He's gonna go back away.
Is in that image that we see of 1952, the way that the production designer has made this entrance of the house is so great because the marble looks like cobwebs, and it's almost like this movie is deliberately recalling the kind of gothic, creepy Hammer House of Horror movies that were popular in the 1950s, which is like insane amounts of cobwebs everywhere. And then, did you notice that they do a tiny little bit of a nod to Hitchcock in the opening?
No, I didn't notice this.
You have this tiny silhouette right when the Colonel shows up, and it's just this little bit of, I think, a Hitchcock in joke, which I think is so fun. Because you know what actually Hitchcock was doing in this year, in 1954?
What?
He was making Rear Window.
Oh,
a
interesting.
movie that we love so deeply.
Yeah, that kind of talks about where we're at right now, just kind of watching outside of our windows as the world goes by.
Exactly.
But I did notice there's another connection to what we talk about a lot in the show, which is like the HUAC trials. And like, because when we go to the kitchen, we meet the chef. She's watching the McCarthy trials on TV, right?
Yeah, she is. And I think this is so interesting because when the HUAC trials, the anti-communist trials of Joseph McCarthy come up in the show, they usually come up in relation to how they affected Hollywood. And I feel like that's a lot of how we talk about them now, like who got blacklisted, what actors couldn't work, what directors had to go into hiding. And Clue takes that setting and reminds us that this happened to the entire country as a whole, especially people who lived in the New England area where a lot of them worked in Washington. And so this idea of who is guilty, who's American, who's not American, who's working with the communists becomes this big subplot, so much that you even get a speech about it in the middle of the movie. Let's watch the clip.
Dead before us. He hated my wife for the same reason that he hated all of you. He believed that you were all thoroughly un-American.
Sorry?
For some reason, he felt that it was inappropriate for a senator to have a corrupt wife, for a doctor to take advantage of his patients, for a wife to emasculate her husband, and so forth.
But this is ridiculous. If he was such a patriotic American, why didn't he just report us to the authorities?
And he decided to put his information to good use and make a little money out of it. What could be more American than that?
And what was your role in all this?
I was a victim, too. At least my wife was. She had friends who were socialists.
Oh, my God.
Now, Amy, it's actually really interesting because that's the way that John Lynn got into the film. He decided that was the point of view that he would take. And by the way, we just have somebody that just jumped on right here. The person who's been blamed for the murder the entire time. Rob Huebel, did you kill Casey Wilson?
Look, we, first of all, thank you for having me on the show. Second of all, I mean, how could I have? That's my
People
question.
said that they saw you outside of Casey Wilson's house, that you were watching your commercial reel, not even your legitimate acting reel. You're on a brand new show with Mark Ruffalo. They said you were watching your old commercials in front of her house.
Yeah, first of all, it's Ruffalo, and yes, I was outside of her house watching my commercial reel, but then I left. I had to go, and and also she's great. How is she? I haven't seen her in a while. How is she doing?
She's dead, Rob. She drank poison wine. It had rat poison in it. People are calling you a murderer. People literally, we didn't even mention your name, and people said it's Rob Huebel. It's Rob Huebel. It's Rob Huebel.
Oh my gosh! I just need to tweet something really quick.
Wait, are you tweeting?
R.I.P. Casey.
Oh,
Wilson.
don't do a tweet. Don't do an R.I.P. tweet.
Well, I mean,
I don't know, what GIF are you going to use? Is it going to be a crying cat?
You know what? I'll probably use a GIF of my own. I have one where I'm throwing glitter in the air like that.
I directed that one. No big deal.
That doesn't sound very appropriate unless you're happy about her death.
No, yeah. You shouldn't be celebrating her. Rob.
I can't even. When did this happen? Recently?
By the way, you're in front of a fireplace. You're in front of a fireplace. Is there a fireplace poker over there?
We
it's
just said
missing.
it. It's cleaned. It's being cleaned.
Oh, interesting.
I want to verify something that we heard from a plumber who was at your house. Are you good at parking?
I am not great at parking. No, why?
Well, they said that you parked really weird outside her house, like you were in a rush. And I said, well, you live in Pasadena. There's no way that you could have been there. I don't know.
Look, the greater thing is I feel like you guys are trying to solve all these clues. Sure, my fire poker is missing. It's currently being cleaned.
You don't clean. You don't send your fire poker to be cleaned.
It does get really dirty.
If you go to shout out to Dave's Fire Poker Cleaners, they do a great service. They're here in Pasadena. They do great work, but the real issue is I don't even know why I'm a suspect.
You have a cut on your hand. You have a cut on your hand.
This?
Yeah.
Oh, this is not. I mean, come on,
Rob.
I also have this.
Oh, she's
Wow.
very flexible. Wow, that's a. Wow.
Are you good at getting in and out of trap doors? That's very flexible.
I am very flexible, and I'm great at getting in and out of trap doors, but I feel like I'm being set up here for something. The real question is, what would my motive possibly be? Casey,
Do you want to be in Bling Ring the musical? Because I heard that's what she was in right now, and you would have been maybe put as an understudy in that.
I do love the movie. I do love it, and I would love to. I'm a great singer. And
you are suspicious, Rob. We are going to keep our eyes on you. Okay.
This is. I'm calling my lawyer, Bill Barr. I'll talk to you later.
Wait a second. He's not a good lawyer.
One more question. I
Yes.
feel a little bad asking this, but it does relate to a previous guest. Would you say you have a healthy diet and good digestion?
Oh yeah.
Not really. I mean, who does? It's
Joe the plumber found a very large turd in her toilet. Not the Joe the plumber, a Joe the plumber, and he didn't think it was from Casey. So I don't know if it was from you. Do you drink a lot of rosé or red wine?
I do love rosé and red wine, but I sometimes take large bowel movements lately, but that's because of the quarantine. The quarantine has got me all messed up. My system is crazy right now.
Stay tuned, Rob. Stay tuned because we got our eyes on you. Thank you for calling in, and you know what? We'll be back. We will be back.
I have one more
with you.
question. I'm sorry. Do you like macaroni and cheese? Do you when you go out to a restaurant, it's on the menu? How do you feel?
Oh, I love it. I love it so. It's like one of my favorite things.
He wouldn't have killed her. Casey was opening up her own mac and cheese shop. Amy hates mac and cheese. That's expensive. You see, you and I are on the same page.
Well, you didn't let me finish my sentence. I love it, but I'm allergic to it. So I'm furious about macaroni.
Highs and lows. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
You are still a suspect.
Thank you
Appreciate
for having
it.
me. I'm going to talk to my lawyer, Bill Barr.
Oh boy.
He's very good, apparently.
So Amy, back to the movie. So obviously there's this like really fun, and I think this actually makes the movie better than just a slapstick film, because it's this fun underlying idea that everybody in it like works in Washington. There's all this really funny wordplay in it. Did you know that like Professor Plum at dinner says he works for the World Health Organization, WHO, which is a part of the United Nations organization, which means he works for who.
Well, that did pop out, and I actually went back and looked into some more of this history that I didn't know, because I really only know HUAC history as in terms of Hollywood. So I did a little bit of reading about things like, say, the character who is gay saying like he was able to blackmail me because I was gay, and that actually was a real fear of the government in the early 50s. It's really a low point in American history, this idea of what they were calling lavender lads. And in the early 50s, because of the HUAC scare, one of the things they were doing is they were finding people who were gay, and they were kicking them out if they worked for places like the State Department. So that part of the subplot is really true. In fact, I found this study that was written in 1950 by the government. This is an excerpt of it that's been pulled out, and it's just them explaining like all of these really old school, bigoted, homophobic reasons for why gay people were not allowed to work in the US government.
Wow.
One of them, if you look at this list, it says that they think that they're too outgoing and they like to talk about themselves, so that they would just be spilling state secrets left and right. I mean, it was pretty crazy. So Clue, thank you, I guess, for kicking me into learning things about history that I was really surprised to learn were that dark and unflattering about our own government.
No, I think it actually is a way to, I think, take a format that seems to be, maybe I'm saying it's too simply like, or stereotypically, that it's like very British format, like this big murder mystery in a house, very Agatha Christie. And I think they found a way to really make it more fun and American, and it tied together, and it's very subtle. Obviously, it's not banging you over the head. These characters are broad. It's slapstick. It's wordplay. It is a really well-constructed film in so many ways. I was kind of blown away by how this movie like traverses all these things, but actually the mystery does hold up. It actually is a fun watch. It doesn't feel like, I feel like we're used to watching like this would be like a shitty version of this, I guess. I could see that so much easier than what was actually made here. This is actually, seems like there was some real care here and some real thought.
It's true. And I think because of this mindset that we're in about being locked down and about coronavirus and health and pandemic, it did leap out to me, I think, double that Christopher Lloyd works for WHO,
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, I pulled this screenshot here for a couple of reasons. One, this is just him saying like, I work for the World Health Organization. And two, because of what they're eating, this is a scene where they're being fed monkey brains. And Miss Peacock loves monkey brains. And I was wondering like, what was up with this mid-80s monkey brain thing? Because this comes out, the year after Temple of Doom, which is another monkey brain scene. And I went on this kind of tear because I was thinking, those monkey brains are really white. And what do monkey brains look like? Do they look like white goo on a plate? And I did eventually. Are
they served in a monkey's head like Indiana Jones? I mean,
I did eventually get to the point where I found like actual pictures of what monkey brains being served for food look like, and I decided not to show them. But they are white, and the monkey brains in the movie are actually fairly accurate in terms of serving monkey brains, if you wanted to know that.
Well, Amy, just so you know, people are commenting on the chat that Clue was shot in Pasadena. That's not entirely true. Some of the exteriors were shot in Pasadena. They actually improved the exteriors with kind of that set design that they use in Star Wars, like that matte painting, to make it look even bigger. It was shot on the stages at Paramount. As a matter of fact, they built this big, beautiful thing. Michael McKean was like, this is how I always envisioned being in films. But people are saying Clue's in Pasadena, or Huebel's in Pasadena. Maybe there is a connection here.
Pasadena has 4 syllables.
4 syllables, Pennsylvania Avenue. Wait. Oh, Amy, there's somebody else here. We have another guest. Who is this guest? Uh-oh.
Hello, Paul. Hello, Amy.
Oh my gosh, this is Inspector Luke Reno.
Hello. I understand you had an awful friend go missing.
Yes, well, Luke, we'll tell you, she didn't go missing. She was murdered by rat poison in her wine. We know that her landlord was looking to rent her apartment, but we also know that Rob Huebel was very jealous of her. I also was her understudy. Amy has an alibi or an issue.
Yes, Amy has an alibi. Don't worry about Amy.
What is,
but we called
Amy,
you
what
because
is this alibi? Because I assume I have to expect suspect everyone, eh?
That's right.
Yeah.
I was washing my cat.
Washing your cat.
I don't like that.
I don't even. I see no cat in your home. I don't see. The only thing I see is a flame, which could be used as a weapon.
Now, Detective Reno, I know that you investigate a lot of crime, Inspector. What should we be looking for? Because we're trying to figure out a clue. There's some things that implicate me. There's some things that implicate Casey. Obviously, Rob Huebel is guilty always, and her landlord and Joe the plumber. They all everyone's throwing us so many red herrings. How do we get through this?
What you want to do is look for anyone and talk to people who want to say to you, bring you aside at a party maybe and say, you know what I did? I killed Casey Wilson.
That's not really a great way to investigate. That
is interesting.
It relies on a lot of luck, you know? In my profession, the only thing we have is luck.
No, but it takes charm. You're a very charming person. I'd like to learn how to be that kind of charming where I could get criminals to open up to me.
Sure, what you've got to do is get a pillowcase, fold it over, and make it into a scarf like this.
You are also drinking red wine, though, and Casey was drinking wine.
I am never not drinking red wine, Paul.
Okay, so do you feel like that helps you be in touch with kind of the world and seeing what's going on?
It sort of helps me have a little more fun on the job.
You should be really focused. You should be very focused.
Because I come from a family that sort of is about fun all the time.
That doesn't.
My father is a DJ.
All right. I mean, what kind of music does he like to play? What kind of music does he like to play?
Disco music.
Disco, okay.
Disco music and MDMA. He does MDMA.
While you're here, Inspector Reno, because you are the best in the business, if we had a clue, if we had a fourth clue, do you think you could look at it?
What are you twirling? What are you twirling right there?
It's just a pillowcase. It's just a little pillowcase. That's all.
My God.
Have you killed anybody?
I have a microfiber cloth that I use in my phones.
All I've got to say, it doesn't work the same way. It makes you look. It makes you look like you got fiber cloth around your neck. But you're putting the look into it, and I don't mind that.
Wait, are you saying that, Amy, that Detective Reno might have another clue for us?
Yeah, I think I just found a clue, and I would like to see what he thinks of it. What's this?
Pasta.
Okay, this is mac and cheese. Casey was opening a mac and cheese restaurant.
Okay.
And it looks as if this is real. I mean, yeah, I would hope. I mean, wow. I think you found this clue. I think you found this clue somewhere. Inspector Reno, it looks like her heart is being attacked by some red.
Okay.
Her eyes are X'd out like death.
Uh-huh.
But it's a mac and cheese drawing. And Amy, we know that you hate mac and cheese. I mean, we know
love mac and cheese. I absolutely love mac and cheese. What are you talking about?
Did you murder the mac and cheese, Amy?
No, I'm making some right now. How are
you making that mac and cheese?
With my mind, with mentalism. Yeah, I'm boiling the water. This is me boiling the water.
My point exactly. You're killing the macaroni.
Yes, I can do that.
You're killing the macaroni. This is really
it doesn't work.
Detective Reno,
this is very interesting.
Detective Reno knows what's going on here.
I just have to be led to the clues and then sort of have it pulled out of me.
See, I like that. I do like that a lot. Now, Detective Reno, we are also people wanted me to ask you a question. In this world, it's been established that white wine is red wine. You're drinking red wine. Did you and Amy work together as part of this plot?
No. If you look closely, this is a more pink.
Oh, okay.
This is a little
rosé.
It's a bit of rosé. It tastes like a shit. I don't know where this came from. But
this rosé has become a real big issue because apparently, if you drink rosé, your shit cannot be identified. According to Joe the plumber. According to Joe the plumber, he said that red wine, yes, but not rosé. I'll tell you this.
You put me into a lineup with a bunch of people drinking rosé, the turds, I be able to pick it up. Plug my nose, everything. I can pick it out.
No, okay. Well, look, Detective Reno, we appreciate you being here. You've helped us out. You brought us a clue. We really appreciate it. I want to just shut down Caitlin Hanson, who says that my child did it. He is 3 years old. He has a broken arm. There's no way he could have put a cap back on a bottle.
I look into that, Paul.
No, I'm not going to look into it.
I would look into that.
I think you should look into that. I think you should look into that because kids are very good at getting in and out of small spaces.
All right. Well, thank you, Detective Luke Reno.
Look how clean he is. He's so clean.
No, he looks dirty to me. He looks very dirty. Thank you, Luke Reno.
Bye-bye.
Merci.
All right, so Kate, we have a lot of clues about Casey's death, Amy. And I want to, before we get back into kind of solving this mystery, and I know that everyone in the chat is trying to solve it, obviously this cast is so well known. The performances are amazing. Tim Curry is next level in this movie. Not the first choice, by the way. The first choice was somebody that John Lynn had written a play with or for, and he died on the first night in the first act of a massive heart attack.
As in, he could have been poisoned by somebody who wanted this role?
Ooh. Well, then if that person was true, then that would have been Rowan Atkinson, who was the second choice for the part. But Paramount wouldn't support that. They thought he wasn't famous enough, even though Blackadder was a big hit in the UK. And they finally went to Tim Curry, who just recently, I think in like 2008, found out that he was the third choice. He's so... I think this is like... I know that Rocky Horror Picture Show is obviously iconic, but this is the performance that I think of when I think of Tim Curry.
Is it? I am maybe the biggest Rocky Horror Picture Show fan that you might ever meet. And so watching Clue reminds me so much of everything I love about Rocky Horror Picture Show. You've got this mansion and it's creepy. You've got this like innocent acting naive who shows up. You have Tim Curry being nuts and you have people in French maid costumes with giant boobs. I mean, this to me is like kid-friendly, no music Rocky Horror Picture Show, which is still an absolute blessing, There's a world where I would love to see Rocky Horror Picture Show put on the AFI list. I love that movie so much.
I mean, but this goes into my argument that the AFI list should have The Room on it. It should have Rocky Horror Picture Show on it because these are movies that they are these uniters. It's like Clue also has these live act outs of Clue. Like people go in front of the screen just like Rocky Horror. There's a real energy behind this movie. And as amazing as this cast is, and we'll talk a little bit more about the cast, but as amazing as this cast is, there's one person I didn't really know, and that's the guy who plays Mr. Body. Everyone in this movie is recognizable on some level, but Mr. Body, I'm like, well, this is so odd. Like, is this just a regular actor? So I did a little bit of research, and Mr. Body is played by Lee Ving, who was the frontman for like an LA punk with a capital P band. I mean, called Fear. And I think
this is like the put Beyonce in your movie kind of stunt casting. It's amazing. He actually is in one of my all-time favorite movies done by one of my all-time favorite directors. That is none other than the beloved Penelope Spheris, who did, a series of documentaries on the music scene here in LA. Decline of Western Civilization 1, 2, and 3. 2, the hair metal one, is actually my technical deep favorite. But he was in 1 with his punk band Fear. And this is him just killing it. Look at that body. Who else could play Mr. Body but that body?
My house smells just like the zoo. It's chock full of shit and puke. Cockroaches on the walls. Crabs are crawling on my balls. Oh, but I'm so clean cut. I just want to fuck some slut. I love living in the city. I love living in the city. Spend my whole life in the city.
Do you think he's talking about Pasadena?
Maybe. I mean, and it's so funny. Lee Ving won't do any sort of retrospective about this film. Paramount's released this film. They won't do director's commentary. There's so few things. But Lee Ving, there's been a fan-made documentary about this film, and he refuses to be interviewed. He's a fucking punk, and so much of a punk that I need to show you this scene that I found on YouTube. So basically, he's inciting the crowd. He's basically saying, you're a bunch of assholes. Fuck you. Fuck you. He's spitting on them. They're spitting on him. This woman in the front row spits on him, and take a watch.
He's a bunch of fucking jerk-offs. Do you know that? guys still rolling up in the recording truck?
Lee Ving is fighting a woman. Lee Wing is fighting a woman on stage. This is like the most, when I saw that, I was like, holy shit, this guy, she's spitting at him, he's spitting at her, he's antagonizing the crowd. It's insane. That's an insane clip.
I mean, speaking of things that people do that are profoundly uncool that have been done by leaving on stage, were you thinking during this one scene in Clue of all the people who are freaked out and want to scream and leave their house to go get their hair cut? And that is when he's calling this whole locked in thing a hoax. Can we watch that scene? Because I was like, oh, wow, that is way too real. That is way too 2020 leaving.
Gentlemen, I'm instructed to explain to you what you all have in common with each other. And unless you would care to do the honors, Mr. Buddy?
Why me? They know who I am?
I don't think so. You've never identified yourself to them, I believe.
It's a hoax. I suggest we all leave.
I'm sorry, sir. You cannot leave this house.
No? Who's gonna stop me? There's no way out.
All the windows have bars. All the doors are locked.
This is an outrage. You can't hold us prisoner.
Ladies and gentlemen, please return to the study. Everything will be explained. You too, Mr. Body.
Other way.
You can't get out that way.
Why not? It's only glass.
I mean, that's all we need.
Yeah, I'm actually glad that you. Oh, so go ahead.
I was just gonna say, all we need are some Dobermans, and then we can keep everybody inside.
Well, I'm glad that you actually pulled that clip. I want to say one thing that our chat brought up. Fear was the first band from SNL. But more interesting, there was an ending that was deleted from this movie. There's 4 endings, not 3. And the dogs, the Dobermans, actually play a very big part in it. I'm going to actually show you. There's a Clue book. This is the Clue book. It was a Choose Your Own Adventure book. We'll show some pictures. This is a scene, a deleted scene. We could leave that on there, Josh, for a second. So basically, this is the ending that they shot that didn't air. John Lynn said it was funny, but he goes, basically, this is what it was. In the unused 4th ending, Wadsworth committed all of the murders. He was motivated by his desire for perfection. Having failed to be either the perfect husband or the perfect butler, he decided to be the perfect murderer instead. He reports that he poisoned the champagne that the guests had drunk earlier so they would soon die, leaving no witnesses. The police and the FBI arrive and Wadsworth is arrested. He breaks free and steals a police car, but his escape is thwarted when 3 police dogs lunge from the back seat. The ending is documented in Clue, the storybook, a tie-in book released in conjunction with the film. So that is I guess a moment from that. We can see, like, you can see this is a whole story right here. This is it's a crazy picture book. I just wanted to show you some pictures of the Clue, the book. And you can kind of pick who do you think the murderer was. But I just thought that was interesting that there was an ending where the dogs do save the day.
Wow, but I don't think that would have been a fair ending because the butler he's not even a playable character in Clue. So then the killer is somebody who can't even be the killer in Clue. I think they did the right thing in cutting it out.
But by the way, Mr. Body does, or not Mr. Body, the butler does change his perspective on everything. The butler is the linchpin of the entire movie, because every ending, he is a different part of it.
That is true. We don't need to show it because it's sort of a long clip, and I know we have a murder to solve. But Tim Curry said that to get into the role of being the butler, he watched a lot of butler online training videos. They had VHSs and how to be a good butler. And when I went looking for some old butler instructional video clips, a lot of them stress the same thing, which is they stress the ability to anticipate, to be able to think about all the clues. And one of them gives this example of your master says he wants to go home for the day. What do you need to know? You need to know, is it raining? You need to know, do I need to get an umbrella? Where do I get the umbrella? If the umbrella's here, what about? And he lays out the system of being a good butler that actually sounds like being a good detective. So it made a lot of sense to me that at the end of Clue, it would be the butler who would be able to pull everything together because the butler is almost a mind reader in terms of this person's going to need everything, this.
But he doesn't have the voice. By the way, I wanted to say, I wanted to mention before we left that Lee Ving is not the only musician in this movie. Did you know that?
No.
Well, the rhythm guitarist of the Go-Go's is also in this movie. She played the singing telegram girl. That's Jane Weedland. So just another like kind of fun connection to the music world in this movie. Yeah, I think that there's something really interesting about this movie. I'm going to make an admission to you right now, Amy. I did not like this movie when I saw it. When I first saw it as a kid, I was a kid and I was like, it didn't work for me. And there are two movies that really worked for me. And I started thinking last night, I was like, wow, this idea of the comedy murder mystery really was big. And I think the movie that this one had a hard time competing with for me was the Neil Simon movie, Murder by Death, which starred Truman Capote and Peter Sellers and David Niven. And as a matter of fact, the same woman who plays Miss Peacock, I believe, in this. Take a look at this trailer, a little bit of the trailer.
Our 5 clue persons and their faithful companions are trapped in a mysterious old mansion where a fiendishly ingenious crime is about to take place.
The victim is here at this very table at this very moment. And so too, ladies and gentlemen, is the murderer.
It's the most stupid theory I ever heard.
One of us is a mad killer, and not to be trusted.
Hope he knows how to stop that thing.
Returning to the kitchen,
who are you?
The blind butler encounters the dumb cook.
Oh, you must be the new kitchen maid. And what has happened to the butler?
And so what you haven't seen here is that Ellen Brennan, who I was mentioning, is in both. But the premise of that movie is the world's greatest detectives. So it's basically a riff on The Thin Man. So you have Nick and Nora Charles. You have, oh my gosh, the guy that Peter Sellers was playing. I'm blanking on his name. The famous detective.
Oh, Clouseau?
No, he's playing Charlie Chan. And then, so you have all these very big, the world's best investigators there. And I love that movie. But
I am surprised that you were watching it as a child. That really impresses me. You were such a cineast.
I mean, well, like my dad would show it to me. It just is a funny movie. But here's my guilty pleasure that I love so much. It's a Tim Conway and Don Knotts movie. That's kind of the same idea. Tim Conway and Don Knotts, who I love from the Apple Dumpling Gang, are in this movie called Private Eyes. And it has a lot of the same things, a lot of busty women, and you'll see.
Is it the women that you liked?
Well, no, I just am saying it's like the similar tropes. So take a look.
Step by step, Tim Conway and Don Knotts prove murder can be deadly in The Private Eyes. Who will be the next victim?
Got that message. Better send it off to the yard and let them know we're here.
I said it, there was no murder! There's never been a murder!
I suspect that they would like to see me dead.
Well, you can relax now that we're here.
Danger is their constant companion. Fear.
You get a little taste of that. But like there's so many of these films, but now I think the one that I kind of exists in the worldview, the zeitgeist of the world, is Clue. Clue is the one that I think is, I mean, I don't know where Private Eyes fell in that thing. For me, Private Eyes is like the best movie. But they all are falling into the same tropes, kind of doing the same thing. And I just was wondering, like, that's so interesting. From 1980 to 1985, there's all these like Gosford Park kind of murder mysteries, and there didn't even seem to be that many of them being made around it. It wasn't like, oh, we need to parody this thing. It just sort of seemed like everyone's like, oh, why don't we just make a comedy version of an Agatha Christie?
Yeah, I never watched any of the other ones. I'm surprised that I missed this entire genre. I think I was at home alone on my computer playing a computer game called Seventh Guest. Did you ever play that?
Oh no.
It was a floppy disk kind of game where you stuck it in and you were in a haunted mansion and there was a murder and you had to solve all these puzzles, and it was so hard. It was so hard, and I actually never beat it. I think as an only child, it was probably my only friend for like a year. Never beat that thing. Seventh Guest. It was incredible.
Oh wow. I love that other game where we were on that island. It wasn't called Halo, but it was something else. But now, Amy, we've gotten a lot of, we've had a lot of fun here tonight, but there still is a murder afoot. And I feel like we need one kind of last clue here. One last.
I'd like 2 more clues, honestly. But we have a clue, I think, right now.
All right. Dear Casey, I must apologize for the way I've been acting towards you lately. I've been a real beast. Let's not fight anymore before our spool party tonight. Please accept this Chardonnay as a token of our friendship. It's my favorite French vintage, extra dry just for the way you like it. From your favorite A.N. Amy Nicholson.
No, that's Anthony Nopkins.
What, Amy? That is not true at all.
That's Anthony Nopkins. You know Anthony Nopkins.
No, Anthony Nopkins. No.
He was in the Psycho.
Did you give?
No, I think I'm being framed, if I can be honest. I think this all sounds like a frame. I think we need to think not only just who would be the understudy of Casey Wilson in the tremendous Bling Ring play, which is going to be amazing, but who would be my understudy if I was framed and unjustly sent to prison. And I would like to say, I saw this suggestion out there. I would like to say that June killed Casey so that I would be thrown in prison so that she could be on Unspooled and she could talk about good movies.
What are you talking about? You're implicating my wife? My wife never. No, she is here taking care of our children. Well, that's actually not true. She's not here. She is out at a birthday party. Yes,
delivering wine to people?
Yes. Oh, wait, maybe so. Yes, you can go watch TV. I'm letting my child watch TV. Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. Screen time is fine.
Well, I think there's one last clue, and I hope it's going to take my name and polish it and shine it like a beautiful varnish.
Okay.
And absolutely implicate your wife. But before I can get to that, I did go searching for negative reviews of Clue, which was not hard. I did not need to be a great detective to find those. A lot of people did not like Clue. And two of them were Siskel and Ebert, who both gave it 2 stars, 2.5 stars, very mediocre. Wow. This is them on their show.
There's some pretty funny gags there, and that one about the crossing of the legs. That is a classic. Now, after those gags early in the film, there's a murder, and that's where the movie falls apart, as all the characters begin running around the mansion as if they were mice in a maze. And then there's the matter of the film's ending. It has been well advertised by Paramount Pictures that 3 different endings, lasting about 3 minutes apiece, were filmed for this movie, revealing 3 different murderers. Well, think about it. If we know that walking into the movie, then we really can't get too excited about guessing who done it, because, think about it, literally anybody could have done it, and anybody did do it. 3 different people did do it. And that cuts the heart out of the tension of a mystery. Now, either Paramount should have showed all 3 endings, as they did to Critics, or, better yet, simply strengthen the script and pick the best murder ending of all.
I think it would have been better just to do all 3 endings, because since you're right, it doesn't matter who did it, then why do we only get one person who did it? I thought it was kind of clever that the same facts fit 3 different guilty parties, and so it would be fun to see all 3. I'll bet that's what they do with a video cassette. They're going to have to throw all 3 endings in. What are you going to do, buy 3 cassettes?
No.
In order to find out, when he didn't care in the first place, who did it?
I will say this. I've seen all 3 endings. The critics got to do that. The public didn't. And the theaters are marked A, B, and C where they're playing. Now, Paramount doesn't want me to do this, but...
Okay, so let's both of us
do it at once. Okay. The best ending, I think the funniest ending is A.
I agree.
What's the best? So go to a theater if you go at all, and I don't know whether you should go at all, and an A theater. Stay away from the worst, which is C.
Right.
Hey, you're smart.
To make it even easier, probably be best if you didn't go to this movie at all. Next at the movie, the story of what happened to Alice after she left Wonderland and grew up in the real world.
So you think you...
I know, that is so harsh for a couple of reasons. I mean, I can absolutely empathize with their point of like, oh, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to feel like none of my investigative work watching this film matters. However, to pick A as the best one, that means they did not pick C, which means they did not encourage anybody to go see what has become the signature scene of Clue. Because only C had the scene that we cannot leave without playing, had the flames on the side of my face.
Improvised scene, the only improvised line in the film.
2.
Yes. Yes, I did it. I killed Yvette. I hated her so much. Flames on the side of my face, heaving breaths.
But while we were in the billiard room, Miss Scarlett seized the...
I love that. By the way, Madeline Kahn, amazing in this movie. And, and that was kind of one of the reasons she signed on, and that kind of brought a lot of the other talent to the mix. Once I had Madeline Kahn attached, I was like, oh, this is actually something that we want to do. And they wrote more for her. She's amazing. This is a movie, and we haven't really talked about like the acting in the movie. It's a really funny comedy. I think Tim Curry definitely steals the show as far as like the centerpiece, but everybody has great jokes. Christopher Lloyd playing a very different type than he normally plays. Martin Mull, who I think is so great. And not Elizabeth Warren. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting her name.
Well, I love that you said Elizabeth Warren, because during that clip, I kept thinking Kate McKinnon has taken so much of Madeline Kahn, and I appreciate that. And Madeline Kahn gives us Kate McKinnon, who gives us the great Elizabeth Warren. So it all comes full circle.
And so Leslie Ann Warren, I'm sorry, but there's
and
so many
Colleen
great
Camp
things.
actually as Yvette, the sexy maid who we saw in Apocalypse Now. She was one of the Playboy bunnies.
She's so good. But also another improvised line here too is in the novelization, Mrs. White tells Colonel Mustard husbands should be like Kleenex, soft, strong, and disposable. And then Miss Scarlet interrupts and says their slogan is soft, strong, and pops up too. I don't know.
Wow.
This is the whole double entendre.
I
This
always
movie,
thought
by the
I
way, is
had
very
9
horny.
husbands.
This movie is super horny. Do you notice all the people checking out asses in this movie? There's so many ass checkouts in this movie. It's funny, like when you see it now, you're like, oh, it's like ass grabs, ass looks. There's a lot of grabbing ass. The ass is a very big driver of this film.
That's how I feel like about every movie of the 80s. I feel like every movie of the 80s just raised us to go out into a world where grabbing asses was a perfectly normal thing to do, and everyone did like double take gazongas everywhere. I don't know. Now,
By the way, people wanted to pull out that Colleen Camp is also the mom in Election.
Oh yeah, another
So that's-
absolutely terrific movie. Now,
Yes.
okay, we have one last mystery clue that I'm very curious to see because I hope it does exonerate me. Shall we take a look?
Let's see. Yeah, take a look. I mean, right now everything is in your favor. Hello, Amy. Thank you for your purchase of Goodfellas from
Hold
YouTube.
on.
Now that you've completed your purchase, you have 48 hours to finish watching your movie. Huh. This seems a little bit unrelated, but because we just had our big episode on Goodfellas, you didn't like it. I did. I've been drinking wine. Wait, Amy, are you going to poison me?
This means, I would like to say that this means that I have been hacked. That anybody who keeps buying Goodfellas over and over again, clearly not me. Whoever bought that Amazon rat poison, clearly not me. There's an imposter.
So you've been hacked? All right, well, you know what? The best hackers of culture are the Simpsons. Is there a Simpsons clip about Clue?
No.
What?
No.
No.
No,
No, I
there
can't
is
believe
not.
that.
There is not. But there is, however, something equally beautiful, and that is there is Simpsons Clue. Simpsons Clue is a thing. I don't know if you ever got a chance to really look at the Simpsons Clue set, but it's pretty amazing. The setup in it is that dun, 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 Mr. Burns is murdered. The thing that they also used as an homage to Dallas early on in their run. But check out these amazing weapons.
Oh, I
You can
love the
kill him
sax.
with the necklace, the saxophone that's glowing plutonium rod, a poison donut, a slingshot, and a Box-O-Matic extendo glove.
Oh, I
wow,
love
that's
this.
fun.
This is actually a really beautiful game. By the way, I just want to let everybody know as we're talking toward the end here, this is your chance to solve the mystery. The mystery is going to be solved in just a second. So as Amy and I are talking about Simpsons, put it together because we're going to reveal it in just a second.
It's not me. We're going to reveal it. It's not me. I'm so
that's
innocent.
what they say. That's what they say. Amy, that game looks actually really better than what I thought. And, the fascination with Clue has just grown and grown. And when you talk to these actors who are in it, there's like, oh yeah, people just be continually like, oh my gosh, I can't believe people love this movie now. So much so that, did you know on the 100th episode of Psych, they billed it as a Clue reunion. And here's a little clip when everyone was in Psych on Clue. Or vice versa.
I'm having menopausal flashes, flames smoldering in and around my bosom. I cannot stay. I must leave.
Wait! Leslie, cool your bosom. We can't go out there.
He's right. There is a storm raging, Leslie, and there is a hungry panther, and your bosom is full, and there are 6 of us, and there's only one rip.
Sean, are you saying what I think you're saying?
Absolutely.
Right.
No, Billy.
Psych. New episodes Wednesdays.
I mean, it's kind of funny because they kind of switched the characters. I feel like, she seems a little bit more sexual than she was in the movie. Maybe she was that sexual there, but they seem to be doing a lot of Clue reunions when it's just 2 of like the 6. A lot of the times, it's like, oh, Clue reunion. They've happened a couple times on different shows. Amy, it's been so fun talking about this movie with you. I'm so glad that we picked it. It seems like people really love this movie, but you know what? The movie is inconsequential because there is a murder to solve.
I mean, I would like to say thank you to Marina Carlson, who thinks I'm being framed. Caitlin Hansen also thinks that this is way too convenient. I agree. Let's all remember this when this case goes to trial.
Well, let's reveal it right now. The Spool solution right here. You want me to read it? Oh, yeah. Here we go. Paul, jealous of Kate. Wait a second. Paul, jealous of Casey's understudy in the Bling Ring, wanting the role of Alex Nears to himself, sent Casey a poisoned bottle of wine. He signed the card from your favorite AN because he couldn't release one passive-aggressive jab about being the best part. Oh, because Alex Nears. Amy, despite her anger at Casey's mac and cheese restaurant, couldn't have ordered the poison because she had started watching Goodfellas at 4:48 that same day. As the same for the macaroni picture, there was all made with pasta, which is more likely to have arts and craft supplies at home with kids. So it was my kid. Oh my gosh, Amy, you're right. I did it. I killed Casey. And you know what? I'll get away with it too. And I'll get everybody out. Yes, hold on one second, my son who helped me with the murder. I'm going to tell you one thing. You all didn't get me. You're never going to get me. I'm getting out of here right now. The highways are clear. The freeways are done. Forget it all. Casey Wilson, you're out of here. And I'm the star. A big, beautiful star. So what? Hollywood lost another starlet. Big whoop. Just want to say that. That's all I want to say. And then, so thank you so much for watching. And thank you to Josh, our producer, for putting this together. Thank you to Devin Bryant, who is in the booth, which is not even a booth. It's at his house. Thank you to Molly Reynolds. Oh, there's Josh with his clue. Josh made this whole puzzle by himself. There's Devin over there. Molly, do you want to show your face? And there's Molly in the chat room with everybody.
Thank you, Josh. We really didn't have any idea who was actually guilty this whole time. I knew it was you, though, Paul.
It was
You got the guilty mustache. You've got that guilty mustache.
I'll be in Bling Ring the musical. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll be back in, not next Monday, but the Monday after to do another movie. We love y'all. And if you missed last week's episode or last Unspooled Spools party, we have a house party going to be on the podcast this week. And you missed a very contentious argument between Amy and I about Goodfellas, but we had such a blast here tonight. Thank you to everybody for participating. Thank you to John Gabrus. Thank you to Jamie Denbo. Thank you to Rob Huebel, who I texted in the middle of the show and jumped on. Thank you to Mike Hanford. Everybody who jumped in to have fun at this thing. We really appreciate you all. We will see you soon.